Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go, both running with eGPU and without, and we're going to see if the ROG Ally can beat the Lenovo Legion Go at its own game of 2K gaming. So with this, we're going to be using a portable monitor from UPerfect, and not to be confused with Ugreen, different company. Anyway, so UPerfect sent over their portable monitor. It's a 18-inch FreeSync monitor. We'll get into the specs a little bit more later on. However, we'll be using that monitor just to showcase the gameplay and kind of the reason as to why you might want to hook up an external monitor to your handheld, whether it's the ROG Ally or the Lenovo Legion Go. So we can already kind of get an expectation of performance with how the Lenovo Legion Go is going to handle, because it already has that 1600p screen, which matches the resolution on this portable monitor. So now we can have a more direct one-to-one comparison with the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go. Alright, talking more about the monitor before we get into the performance testing, we will be using the UPerfect UGame K118 18-inch 2K FreeSync monitor. Yes, it does have FreeSync, and it's at 144 Hz. The price is $369 US regularly, with it coming in at $279 currently for Father's Day sale. If you check out on their website, they do have a 5-star rating just on their website. I don't necessarily ever trust a website's rating system, especially if it's available elsewhere. Looking on Amazon.ca, they do have a 4.4 average rating though, with just under 3,000 total reviews. Now globally, the 1-star reviews speak to the dim panel, defective sticky buttons, either not working or not registering, or just sticking and pressing all the time, having a defective panel, which my first one did. I'll speak a bit more about that later, and light bleed from the monitor itself. So my first monitor that I got from them, through no fault of their own, I don't know, but the monitor did have what appeared to be like an impact point where there was just a bright white spot close to the center-ish of the screen. Wasn't anything on my end, and the packaging, at least on my end being delivered, didn't look like it was kicked down the road at all. Like, it was pretty pristine packaging. So I don't know if it was defective from the factory or from shipping. However, when I reached out to my contact, they did send out one free of charge. Obviously, I'm sure they would do this again with anybody else, not just because they sent them to me for free to review. Now, speaking quickly about my personal thoughts about the monitor, yes, indeed, the display is dim. Getting into the specs, it is an 18-inch, 144 Hz panel with FreeSync. Like I said before, it has 3.5mm aux jack, 2 USB-C with DisplayPort, mini HDMI, and support for only 120 Hz over HDMI, but 144 over USB. Panel response is 9 milliseconds, 1001 contrast ratio with 250 nits of brightness. There's no touch, but there is HDR supported, but it's obviously fake and not proper because it's at a peasily 250 nits of brightness. Honestly, I've had older laptops that still work and run Linux or whatever that have much brighter screens or comparable to this. This is a very dim panel, and even the model below this one has a 15 nit higher brightness panel. This is a common complaint and a valid one in the reviews. Now, there is USB pass-through charging, but it's limited, and I honestly just had a better time of just kind of plugging in a hub and then plugging that hub directly into the monitor, especially if you're going to be using peripherals such as keyboard and mouse, things like that. And finally, again, just more thoughts on the panel. It's a good panel to have as a secondary on the go. It is very dim, again, old laptop screen dim. The backlight bleed is pretty poor and the contrast ratio is low. However, it is responsive enough for me. I know it probably wouldn't be as responsive for some people, but you know what, it's good enough for me. It's got VRR FreeSync, cables included. You get 2 USB-C cables, you get mini HDMI to regular HDMI, and then you get a power adapter as well. Honestly though, I would just use your own power adapter if you have one. Now, you do get a smart cover and it acts as a stand. However, I think the stand is almost useless because there's no angle adjustment. You just get what you get, and that's it. Personally, I would look into their VESA mount options where they have a VESA kickstand. I'm sure you can find probably third-party options as well. But if you do need that angle adjustment or just a more stable monitor, I would honestly suggest getting something else other than a smart cover. Very nice cover to have to be able to throw into your bag, but it's not very good for angle adjustment again. Alright, finally, just some housekeeping of overviewing testing before getting into the actual benchmarking data. So obviously the two devices used will be the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go, both running stock software, 6GB VRAM set, and less using the eGPU, then they're both set to auto. Latest version of Windows 11, core isolation, memory integrity turned off, 30-watt manual set through the respective software, observed through RTSS. eGPUs used will be the 3080 XG Mobile and the 7600 XT OneXGPU for the Lenovo Legion Go and the XG for the ROG Ally. Now, I'm not going to be comparing or commenting on the differences of the results because it's not a fair comparison, because these are two vastly different class GPUs. Settings listed will be at the very top, and the resolution and if FSR was used will be on the left-hand side, represented by FSR, P, B, and Q, performance, balance, quality. Each device will be using their stock drivers. Other than the Lenovo Legion Go, when connected to the OneXGPU, will be running the 7840U drivers due to compatibility issues. And again, the resolutions tested will be 800p, 1200p, and 1600p for mobile, and then 1600p on the eGPU. One game, Dying Light 2, does have long blank loading screens between the scenes, so this skews the results. So instead, I've used FPS average, min, and max applied by their in-game benchmark. Otherwise, games tested will be tested and used with the averages 1% low and 0.1% lows. Alright, kicking off the game testing, we have Bioshock Infinite with 800p. We have a 3.3% difference average favoring the Lenovo Legion Go, with the 1% lows and 0.1% lows favoring the Ally. 1200p, we have 9.6% average favoring the Legion and a 9.7% lows favoring the Ally. Now 1600p is about the same story, except the Lenovo Legion Go wins in the lows as well here and top of the averages. eGPU results are what they are. It just shows viability, honestly, of using a monitor like this. Now, Borderlands 3, the 800p, we have the averages of 11.9% favoring the Lenovo Legion Go, and the 1% lows and 0.1% lows were beaten here as well, favoring the Legion. Now, 1200p, we have an average of 5.8% favoring the Legion, and the 1%, 0.1% lows beaten by the Ally, destroyed in the 0.1% lows here, actually. And that's kind of the huge difference, otherwise they're mostly the same. Now, moving to Callisto Protocol, it's mostly favoring the Lenovo Legion Go here, except for the 0.1% lows. So for Callisto Protocol, again, we've got averages of 64 versus 57. That's 11% difference favoring the Legion. 1% lows was 25 versus the Ally with 20. Now 1200p, there's an average of 7% difference on the FPS averages. And at 1600p, there was 11% difference, but the lows, the Ally wins by a small margin here. Now moving to Cyberpunk, we have average of 12% favoring the Lenovo Legion Go. And then again at 1200p, we have 13% favoring the Legion Go over the Ally. However, at 1600p, this is where the Ally turns around and actually beats the Lenovo Legion Go at its own game here. So this is just interesting. And then with the eGPU here, it's just fun to be able to kind of play in the FPS mode and play with the RT on and stuff like that in a game like this and really enjoy it at 1600p. Now, going to Dirt 3, the Ally actually destroys the Lenovo Legion Go here at 800p. However, the 1200p and the 1600p, they were pretty similar, honestly, with the only difference being the 0.1% lows majorly. The 1% lows were very comparable, but the 0.1% lows were actually drastically lower typically than on the Lenovo Legion Go versus the Asus ROG Ally. Now, going to Dying Light 2, again mentioned here, this is the FPS average, min, and max, so don't freak out when you see the red bar shooting up high. That was just the max FPS average, so basically you just want to focus on the purple bars here. However, at 800p, there's almost a 10 FPS jump in average, and the lows by about 5 in favor of the Lenovo Legion Go. 1200p, there's about 6 FPS average favoring the Legion Go, and 1600p, same thing favoring the Legion Go. Now, go to Horizon Zero Dawn, we have another kind of decimation, except for the Lenovo Legion Go decimating the ROG Ally at 800p here. Moving to 1200p and 1600p, the gap is smaller, but it still favors the Lenovo Legion Go. However, the 1% lows are very comparable, especially the 0.1% lows with the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go, with 1600p actually beating out the Lenovo Legion Go for 0.1% lows here. Finally, we have Sniper Elite 3, bit of an older game here. However, we have the Lenovo Legion Go, again, spreading its kind of wings here and just taking off, honestly, with the frame rate, especially with 800p, but throughout 1600p and 1200p as well. Here we can maintain a 60 FPS average at 1600p on the Lenovo Legion Go, while only being able to maintain a 53 FPS average on the Asus ROG Ally. And with that, we conclude the testing. So in conclusion, through testing of a small selection of games, some older, some newer, so it's a decent variety, I would say. For the most part, the patterns are seen with the Legion performing better in most occasions at 30 watts. The Ally intermittently will beat the Lenovo Legion Go in 1% lows, and on occasion beat it at its own game at 1600p. If anything, we would typically see higher 0.1% lows and 1% lows through each game, honestly, with the Asus ROG Ally. Now, if anything, this further proves the efficacy of Lenovo sticking with a 2K panel, and even as the title, such as Cyberpunk, like I mentioned before, both handhelds are capable of 30 plus FPS. Now, that's not to say every game will run amazingly, however, at least with the Lenovo Legion Go and the UPerfect monitor with integer scaling, it can be a viable option. That's when you upscale the 800p image to a 1600p, and it divides into it nicely, so you can double the pixels and get a chunkier but nicer looking image, in my opinion. Now, thanks again to UPerfect for supplying the monitor. If you are interested in this product or any of their other products, do please check them out via the links below. If you buy this monitor specifically, I'll get a small commission. However, don't feel obligated to buy this monitor. Check out their other products. They do have a wide range of monitors supporting various systems and setups. So while you're down there, why not check out the Discord, Handhelds United? And with that, we also have the Handhelds Undone podcast, which will typically feature myself, Gamers Generation, Gaming for Insight, Handheld Hardware, CPPC Tech, and sometimes others. Now, thanks again for watching. I hope you all have a great day.